You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another round of Sketch Up on a Thursday, 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Tonight's guest, we have Izik Bell, co-creator of METALSHADE, and they have a current Kickstarter run right now in the Shrine. And we're going to find out what all that is about and what his secret is behind the Kickstarters. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey.
Welcome everyone. How is everybody doing? Hope you guys are doing fine. Tonight's guest is Izik Bell, and we'll be drawing some sketches here. Mog, what are you going to be drawing?
I'm going to, in tribute to our wonderful guest, Izik, I'm going to try to draw something within his world theme.
Oh, okay. Really? Okay.
And,
That's
Izik,
awesome.
are you going to be drawing?
That's exciting. I guess I'm excited to be here now. I'm going to have some Mog Park METALSHADE stuff.
Are you going to be drawing?
Me?
Yeah.
So I brought with me this nifty METALSHADE sketch cover. And,
fantastic.
I'm going to draw Shrine because, I mean, you know, I have a Shrine campaign going and she's one of my favorite characters.
Perfect. And what is your opening bid at?
Oh, good question. I don't know, like what do they start around?
Usually
here? It varies from artist to artist. So it's usually started at what you're good with.
50, 100.
It could be 50, $100.
Okay, so 50 sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Mog will be doing the same thing. So if any of you are interested in bidding on their work, say so in the comments. And we are currently looking for opening bids of $50. Okay. So once again, we have Izik. He'll be going to Shrine. And if you don't know what that is, I suggest that you go ahead and check out the Kickstarter. It is doing phenomenal, by the way. If you guys have not, already got like 12, 13. Sketch calls already unlocked. I'm glad that we are a supporter, a backer of that camp, because we're going to be getting a lot of goodies. We did support the last one as well too, METALSHADE Zero, and we were happy to get that. It took a little while because that package got kind of lost, but we were like a little bit worried, but it actually made it to us, so we're happy about that. And if you haven't checked out the artwork on there, Izik does incredible work. Love the pencil work, the inking, the coloring.
Thank you.
Like all together. Their story is very beautiful for you. Get and how that what's going on there in this first issue that you have spun out from METALSHADE.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, I lost you a little bit in there, but are you asking kind of like the synopsis of the comic? I'm sorry. Could you say that again? Am I the only one having trouble here?
No, I think it's happening over here too. Guys, if you can hear us, it seems like your audio may have shut off.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir. I think what happens is that we can. Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
So I kind of think he was asking me the synopsis for METALSHADE, so I might as well just talk about that. So METALSHADE does.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Is this better?
There you go. Yeah, you got it. You're back. I'm hearing a bit of a lag, and am I good to jump into this, or?
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Okay. All right. So Metalshade is an occult strike force that becomes entangled in a war with the ancient gods of their world. And the whole story takes place in another dimension where like science and spellcraft are all intermixed. There are some pretty shady politicians in this world that are plotting to bring in the ancient gods from the old world, or to release them back into their dimension. So Metalshade is kind of the strike force that has to rise up to face that threat. So, and Shrine is a character from Metalshade, and in her solo series, we're going to find out about her origins. So that's the basic rundown.
You got to unmute yourself before you can talk now.
All right, can you hear me now?
Gotcha.
Can you hear me now? Gotcha. Okay, can you hear me? Yeah. Is this okay?
No.
Okay, good. Okay, how about now? Man, not sure why we're having a lot of technical.
Yeah, we can have. What happened? It looks like Mog's connection is dropping in and out, and it was her mic that you were speaking through, so that's why we couldn't hear you.
Yeah, I have it muted on my.
Yeah. Oh, it looks like she's back. Let me put her in. Maybe that you can turn your mic off. There we go.
My mic off.
Mog, can you hear us?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm
okay.
so
Cool.
sorry.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Let's try this. All right. All right. So you're introducing. Are those all new characters that? Are those all?
No, I don't think this is going to work because Mog's connection is not stable enough for audio because you keep dropping in and out. This has never happened before, my friend.
I
I'm
will
so sorry.
start my computer.
It's probably my fault because I tend to be bad luck with technology, at least. Like when I am around technology, it just doesn't work.
Okay.
So, why don't you go ahead and tell us about the Kickstarter real quick, and we can try and work on this in the background.
I can just sit here and talk all night. I mean, you guys, you're in luck. So the Kickstarter campaign is for Shrine. That's the solo series that we have running. And I mean, like, basically, this is what I've always wanted to do, is make comics. And I've been trying to do that, like, basically my whole life. But I was never really good enough to do it. And I'd always, like, start stuff and then just kind of give up on it. And it was kind of like this cycle that just kept repeating forever. And finally, when I got to a point pretty recently, maybe the past like 5 or 6 years, where I felt like I could actually like make the stuff that's in my head. And since that time, I've just been, it's an amazing feeling to actually be able to do that, because that's what I've been trying to do my whole life. So now I'm just obsessed, and I'm just down here all the time working on the comics, always drawing and writing, and like, since this stuff has been so successful, which we didn't really expect, we thought that it was going to do well, but we definitely didn't think we would be doing the numbers we're doing. Like, all the stuff we're doing right now is meant to build a foundation, but it's also, it's kind of gone beyond expectations, which is amazing. And because of that, we get to really like lean into all the creative stuff we want to do. So basically, like all the projects and stuff, all of those dream projects that we've had over the years, we get to do them now. So it's very exciting, and yeah, it's just a good time to be creator owned too, with Kickstarter and all of the support online. So that's kind of where I'm at. That's my headspace right now.
And Mel, you're still muted.
How about now?
There we go.
Okay. I was asking that the characters that you're introducing in the shrine, which ones have you brought over from METALSHADE?
Okay, so
Because you have Kiara is new,
yeah.
Shrine is new.
Well, Shrine is from METALSHADE.
Okay.
Whisper is new. Kira is new. Sage is
Dr.
new.
Ear.
Yeah. So, but Psychor and Cryptor are from METALSHADE.
All right.
So, yeah, we wanted to do it in a way where it was still, it's a part of the METALSHADE universe, but we wanted to bring new elements into. And I think people get excited about those, especially for me. The comics I first read as a kid were actually the old Amazing Spider-Man stuff by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko. And they always had a really great supporting cast, and it did a lot for the book. And so that's one of the things I always think about. And with Shrine, I wanted to make sure that she had a great supporting cast. So.
Yeah, we can see that in a lot of the older comics, right? Because I mean, if you look at Spider-Man, right, and those early issues, there are so many cool first appearances of their villains that are highly sought after,
Yeah.
And it all starts in the early issues, and it goes all the way down to 129, where Punisher makes his first appearance.
Punisher, huh?
Yeah, and you
got
Mobius,
also Venom too, right? I mean,
Venom is a big one in issue 300. Even though he was, from the black alien suit,
Secret
but it was a nice twist to really bring that character and that design around that Todd did. And God, I remember going into the comic book store, and that issue was just like selling off the racks like hotcakes. And they were limiting it to like only one, because I guess they didn't really expect that. And I was fortunate because I was like a heavy buyer of comics at that time, spending like $50 easily a week. The guy told me, "Hey Mel, if you want a second issue, you can have one, an extra."
So do you have a bunch
"Oh yeah, I'm gonna take it."
You got a bunch of keys from back then?
What's that?
Do you have a bunch of key issues from back in those days? Because
yeah, I've been actually a collector and a comic book dealer.
So you got all kinds of fun stuff then.
Yeah, so there was let's see, was it in the 80s? Right? I was doing a show here in a regular show that was monthly here in LA, and there was this guy he brought in these books, and they were just like close to like near mint as you can possibly get, but it was like the 12-cent, 15-cent books, and they were a dime a piece. And you could find like issues of The Cat, Strange Tales, Marvel Triple Action, stuff like that, along with Superman's Superboy. So I would look at, okay, key issue, let me just take 5 and put them away, right? So I'd put make a 5-pack and just stash that away, and they cost me like pennies back then, and compared to like what they're selling now.
Wow.
Man, so those are in my collection. But Spider-Man, I mean, that's like one we always chase whenever we were looking at collections and stuff. And if they said they have Amazing Spider-Man, oh man, did your ears just tweak up? You got Amazing Spider-Man? Oh yeah, what issues do you have? And a lot of times they didn't know what the keys were. They knew some. They know. Like Green Goblin, Mysterio, major characters, but they weren't looking at other things like Mary Jane. Nobody.
Oh,
Mary Jane wasn't like a big
that's a big
character
one.
back then, you know. So you could.
Yeah,
easily
back
put
then it
those
wasn't
42s.
considered that way.
Yeah.
You know, when I was coming up, even Green Goblin wasn't popular at all. Like, you know, and because I mostly was reading comics in the 90s, but it was mostly old reprints because my parents were super strict about comics.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't have Venom or X-Men, or like I could basically read Fantastic Four and like old Spider-Man reprints.
But you know, Fantastic Four was kind of cool. They did have a good group of supporting characters as well. A lot of several first appearances and some major ones as well, with the Galactus and Silver Surfer, Black Panther, the Inhumans, stuff like that. So I think they were good too. And when I read your Shrine, your Kickstarter, and found out like what that's about, I was happy to see that you do have a story that's wrapped around it. That it's not just something that it doesn't feel like something that you just put together and threw it out there, you know.
Well, you remember Image would do that. They'd be like, so they had all their team books, and then they'd be like, oh, here's the solo book, and there would be no supporting cast, and that it would just kind of be. It felt that way. It felt just.
Yeah, that's because what they were trying to do. I'm not going to put names to this. But they knew that number one sold well, right? So they purposely did the first issue, knowing that they would get the numbers on that, because people would just like be interested. So they would do that.
It's not as egregious as what Marvel does today, right? Like same thing, but they're just. Let's see if you can actually see. Oh, starting to drop.
Very good, very good.
Some more in there.
Yeah, you're right. Marvel, DC, they're kind of like doing the same thing. They keep rehashing. Starting over, and it's the same old story, trying to get new readers to jump on, making this a good jump point.
Yeah. Well, for me, when I got into comics, a big part of the appeal was the continuity, because I was in second grade. All the kids had the Marvel cards, Series 2. We would trade them. And the fact that all those characters were in the same universe and interacted with each other and had histories together was so appealing to me. And I just started like thinking of my own universes, you know, and that's what led to all of this.
Yeah. They were I know, it's like they've it was great in the 60s and the 70s that you would have these stories come out. Maybe not all of them were great, but they had these interesting stories enough to like capture your imagination and give us that escapism that we were looking for, to be entertained, if that's all that it was. But now it's like they've just ran out of ideas, and it's like, how many Batman issues, you know, I cannot, even if I had if money wasn't too much of an issue, there's no way I'd want to collect all those Batman different titles, you know. And
no point.
You know,
most of it's not very good.
Exactly. That's the thing. They're just throwing stuff out there and seeing like what sticks, you know, if anything.
You're right, but like it's also just taking up market share, right? It's like they want to take up as much space on the shelves with as much crap as possible. So like there will be a few good, like seriously good titles still in corporate comics all the time, but just the majority of it is so mediocre. You know, it's like I'm too spoiled by some of the like masterpieces that I've been able to consume. So I'm not going to waste my time with just this drivel, you know? So, but there are some exciting things happening. I mean, there are a lot of creators going independent and things like that. One big thing for me was I think I got kind of burnt out on American comics. And when I linked up with Alexa, she introduced me to manga, and suddenly there was like this whole other world of material to consume. But it was an acquired taste for me, big time, I will say. Yeah.
And it's same with me. I got into manga a little bit, into like the anime in the 90s. I got into like the first one that grabbed my interesting enough, that grabbed my attention out of there was Ghost in the Shell.
Oh yeah.
Which is, and you're doing Shrine here, which is has that ring of Ghost in the Shell and Battle Angel Alita, which is another one that I liked as well. And I was watching also, what was it? Ranma, Rurouni Kenshin, things like that, and Trigun. Okay, but
Yeah.
that was all in the 90s, and I haven't really watched anything else after that. I've tried watching what's that new one, Demon Slayer, with my son to spend some quality time with him, and it's good. But the story format is about the same for me from manga to manga, and I think that's why I have a hard time sticking with it. You have these characters that are introduced, and they're kind of weak, and they have to overcome their fears and gain some confidence, so they kind of like level up, right? And in the next story arc, it's round two. They have to learn some things again about themselves and growth, and it's great because they are working on character growth, but the pattern is about the same.
That's because that's the whole pattern we have, right? That's the pattern of existence. We're all in that pattern.
Yeah, we're all on the hero's
We're either
journey.
leveling up, or we're stagnant, or we're going in a bad direction.
So yeah, hopefully we can get out of this. So like one of the things that happened is Image going to lunar distribution. Have you read about that?
Yeah, I just heard about it.
Do you have any opinions about that, or how do you feel about that?
Yeah, not so much. I'm so removed from that part of the market right now. I have very little interest in a lot of those titles, and I do like that there's competition. I mean, heard plenty of things about Diamond over the years, as far as like shady business dealings, and the entire system is set up in the first place to extract value from creators and give them back very little. So I am a big proponent of the more community-based model that we use, where it's like, we have a certain following, they want to see certain things made, and we'll make it if we can raise the funds. So, and I want to see, there are a lot of things that I'm working on right now, and I do want to see a distribution system that connects creators directly to the comic shops, because in my model, the comic shops get cut out, and I don't like that because the comic shops are awesome. But in the corporate model, it's like the creators get peanuts. So we're figuring some things out, and we're working on our own distribution model as well. So
yeah, I think that's going to be the key as to how the industry survives here. It is, I came from a time when we had Capital Distribution, we had Diamond. They were operating alongside, along with other distributors. There's actually and I forget the names of these distributors. There was one.
there were quite a few, right?
What's that?
There were quite a few before the collapse, right?
There was quite a few. There was, yeah. And I used them all. Some as my main distributor, some as backup distributors if I for like reorders and stuff. They were great for that, which is what those distributors wanted. They wanted the back end after you got your main suppliers from. So it was great to have that, because you couldn't always tell like what to order, right? So if you didn't want to take a risk on something, you could put maybe what you felt was a medium-sized order on that particular issue. And if it looked like it sold well, before the week is over, you could call in and get another shipment from another supplier the following week, so you could still continue to grab your sales. It would be nice to have something like that, because there's a lot of risk involved when a retailer places their order and they don't know like how something is going to sell.
Because they're also ordering a product that hasn't been made yet. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. There's no.
So it is
there's
that
no
is the
numbers.
crowdfund model. That's the
Yeah.
same model. It's just on a big
Yeah.
scale using a distribution system. They were always doing that, and they were just cutting the artists out, basically, the creators.
Yeah, the advantage by having it all in like one place, right? You could, like, if you looked at Diamond, right, they would produce, kind of give you an idea what the sales were like. We could see what the numbers are. You know, you got X-Men that's doing 101,000, for example. Batman was close in here for like 95,000. So you could see like what those are. And even if you didn't order that before, at least you kind of like have an idea on what the number is and then base it on. But right now, with everything so spread out, especially with a lot of creators going to Kickstarter, we don't see those numbers, and it's hard to figure out to navigate through all that and grab those numbers and put it onto something that we can visually see and graph and figure out how to forecast what our sales are going to be and what we're going to order.
Right.
So that's one of the difficult things. But the con of it is that you're getting a much bigger cut, by cutting out the distributor. It's you put your own money into it, and you're making your own profit, controlling it. But there's many hats now that as a creator you're going to have to wear, because now you got to go into marketing, you got to go to know the back end of the business with the accounting, you got to figure out like what works, right? And we're getting into that, but we're going to take a break right now, and we will be right back with Izik Bell as we talk more about comics. All right.
Did you know that every experience show, including some exclusive content, streams on Twitch? Check it out. Twitch.tv/the_EXP. Or just scan that QR code.
You just finished the last episode of your favorite new show, and you just have to talk about it. But all your friends are ghosting you because of that incident last week at the buffet. Oh, you know the one. What you did to that chowder. Ugh. Keeps me up at night. So what do? Join writer Dan Wickline as he breaks down all your favorite pop culture media. Whether it's a review of the latest nerdy TV show or a dive back into the history of your favorite comic characters, Dan's ready to discuss all the hottest topics live. Join the conversation as Dan live streams Tuesday through Thursday at 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. The Dan Wickline Show on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
You know how when you go to Comic-Con, after Comic-Con, you go to the hotel bar, and there's a whole bunch of people playing music and dancing, and you've got Pikachu and Lara Croft Tomb Raider doing the cha-cha slide just down from Deadpool and Batman and Wonder Woman? That's every Saturday night over on the Experience Twitch channel. Join Taji Beats for the EXP Dance Party, exclusively on Twitch, twitch.tv/the_EXP. Go follow The Experience on TikTok at @the_EXP1 or scan the QR code on the screen. Our TikTok is like everywhere else we are, except you only have to deal with us for a minute. Seems like a win-win to me. Go follow The Experience on TikTok at @the_EXP1 or scan the QR code on the screen. Our TikTok is like everywhere else we are, except you only have to deal with us for a minute. Seems like a win-win to me.
Welcome back to Sketch Up, and we have Izik Bell tonight. Thank you all for being here. I want to take the time now and we say hi to Cool Gamer, Stevie B, Jay Burns, Sean Butler, Mike Wasilovsky, Rick Blow, Kenneth Bird is also here. Glad to have you. Same thing with who else do we have here now? We've got let's see, just say Jay Burns. Jenna Burns is also here. Wow, okay. The couple is here. All right, glad to have you guys all again. Mog is doing something similar to from the Metal Shade, and Izik is working
Wow,
on
that's
Shrine as
beautiful.
well, off of his Metal Shade black sketch cover. Opening bid starts at 50. If you want to bid on that now, you can. Just say who you want to bid on, and we will take note of that. High bidder, make sure you fill up the magic form later on, so that way we can get that information for you and complete the transaction. All right, so JB, if we can bring up the Kickstarter, do you have that? And we can review that. We'll go through it a little bit quickly with, as Izik Bell takes us through that. There we go.
Sexy.
Yeah, it's already past 57,500. That's unlocking 12 or 13 stretch goals. And if you guys aren't on this, that's a sweet deal already to get all those stretch goals thrown in just for having a physical, being a physical print backer. And look at the art. That's one thing that I do like about that that you do in there,
Yes.
Izik, is that you show the ink work along with the colored page.
Yes.
And we can appreciate both on that. Who are your influences? For you?
Huh?
Can't hear me.
I think I maybe
Izik, can you hear us?
Izik, can you hear us?
Oh. Let's see if we can send a message to him. How are you?
Well, we are sending messages to Izik. I apologize to everybody
For
out
the
there.
technical difficulties that we're having today.
It was, yeah,
But
it was
again,
my fault.
you
So
can look at that beautiful art that's coming across on the Kickstarter. Really fantastic art. You can tell the influences that Izik has taken his art from. You can see like Finch in there, Silvestri. And those are the stretch goals that have all been unlocked. That's all unlocked right there. It's unlocked all the way up to 57,500. Yeah, that's right. Keep it going. Keep it going. Right.
I'm so glad.
And it's very close to breaking
60,000.
Okay. So that is a ton of stuff to be getting for your contribution there.
Yeah.
So.
Hey.
Okay.
I can hear you guys now.
Back there. Okay.
Oh,
I
Stevie,
don't know what happened.
Stevie, thank you so much for putting an opening bid for Izik's sketch cover.
Ooh, okay, all right. Stevie B's got a claim on Izik. If you want to place a bid on Izik's black sketch cover there, we are looking at a bid of 55 or better. Okay. And he's off to a good start.
She won't be bald
on there.
eventually.
You work really clean. Like, I like to work really messy and then it gets tighter and tighter, but you work very clean from the beginning.
No, only on a sketch cover.
Oh, okay.
On my pages, it's very much chaos. But I think it's better that way because like this is going to be the best that I can do in one shot. But in the chaos, I like find the perfection, you know? So if that makes any sense. It's not really perfection. It's just what I think looks cool.
Who would you say is your biggest influencer for your art?
Well, I take a lot of influence from the Top Cow stuff. Yeah, early Top Cow, Mark Silvestri, and just that house style that I'm big on. Mm-hmm. But I'm really big on like some of the, like, who is it? Byochi or Byochi, or I can't pronounce it. A Korean guy who did manga. He did Sun Ken Rock, and then there's you were talking about Masamune Shiro. Yeah,
he's still. I'm still.
I try to absorb some of that because like the Sun Ken Rock guy, that he's done stuff on Trigun too. Like he was a huge Trigun fan, and then he did. If you ever check out Sun Ken Rock, the illustrations are just gorgeous.
Sun Ken Rock.
Yeah.
Is that like
check
the
it
high
out.
school fighting?
No,
It's
that's
a lot
not
of fighting. It's action. It's that it has comedy in it, but it is a really great story, and the art is amazing. It is very like it's kind of what is the word fan servicey, like it's very fan servicey, though.
Okay.
But
Nice.
I'm gonna check that out. Sun Ken Rock. Wow.
I love it. It's so good.
You know, one thing about, because now I'm doing also interior pages. When I was studying, so I'm studying like manga and comics. What do you pull from the manga side when you do the interiors?
It's different things. So like, what I'm thinking of that I pulled like from that Sun Ken Rock guy was the style of hatching that he was using, which is and he just had a really cool way of doing it, and so I've done some of that in mine. With Masamune Shiro, it's definitely just that beautiful anatomy. It's so just mind blowing to me. But as far as layouts, I think that manga is very, very advanced in their storytelling, and there are so many things that I'm trying to wrap my head around that are very, very subtle. The way that they do their pacing, especially.
The pacing.
The pacing is just that's why
I know what you mean. It's different. It's a total different genre with comics, especially you can see the difference when it's doing action.
Yeah.
Have you noticed? The pacing in the action in manga is really just stretched like pages and pages and pages, right?
Yeah.
But in comic, it's all done in one page.
Yeah. Well, in the manga, that action is about the kinetic, like the energy and the actual movement and the fighting. But in the American comic, it's about that pose.
Yes.
And looking cool in that one shot. Look at all my muscles.
And also they do they really focus on the expression a lot, right? Like super
very
close
expressive.
Up on, like the eyes or something. It creates that tension sometimes because of it, I think. So.
Well, people will hate me for saying this, but like in my honest opinion, just as a student of art and sequential storytelling, I do feel that especially the Japanese manga it's just on another level. Like we haven't really accomplished what they have in the East yet. I think that we can. Probably our focus was more in films. Whereas in the East they were able to like make their films in the comics basically, and that's probably why they're so spectacular, would be my guess.
And also, I was recently thinking about like that's a common topic I kind of think about in my head as I dissect and study things.
Yeah.
What the manga has an advantage, the reason why I think the interior page is a little bit more free-flowing, is they don't have to colorize it. So the style become more distinct. It's not everything has to be closed in. Now I have to make it super clean and tight for the colorist. It's all about it just ends there. So I think sometimes the hatching or the black line work is a lot more free because that's the end product and that's it. So that's what I recently kind of stumbled upon, but that's just my opinion. I want to hear your opinion about that.
I agree, but like everything that we're saying too, like needs a big caveat because like really there's so like things are so diverse, like in American comics too. Like there's so many different ways of doing things in different American styles. Same thing with manga. I would say in broad strokes, you're 100% right though. And for me personally, I really appreciate seeing that in there. There's a lot of like energy in those sketchy lines. And when you leave them in there, like it brings something kind of raw to the table. And I think a lot more people connect with that than like the big American companies realize. like the big American companies try to like polish things to a
Yes.
point where it's like unrecognizable.
Yeah.
But the stuff that people really love, they connect more
Yeah.
with it when they see the like imperfections, because we're all messed up. We all have problems. None of us are perfect.
Exactly.
No, you don't have to be like a perfect artist to tell a good story. Like, we've seen like good stories drawn by artists that people may not like as much, but the stories has been good. But I wanted to point out that one of the big factors, I think, between manga, why they have a little more freedom in their storytelling versus American Western comic books, is they've got a whole lot more pages that they can use to tell their story. Right? Where we're trying, the standard American comic book has 22 pages. Right? So you're trying to cram that in there. So you're moving like from one scene to the other, and you've only got a limited number of pages. And I think that's what's also allows the manga artists to take more time in their storytelling. It also allows them to play around with the pacing, right? Because there are parts of it where it does slow down, and some of it is you're reading through that and you're going, well, this isn't really important. These guys are just throwing ants, you know?
Yeah.
And you go, you can take that whole 4 pages out and not really hurt the story at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, they have time to play around with things like that, and we don't. And the other thing too is that for the most part, American comics is like they're more serious. They have a more serious tone. That I'm not saying that all of them, because you can't say that about like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or other books and all like that. But yeah, so I think that's like one of the differences.
I think one of the big things that made manga an acquired taste for me was the comedy in it, you know? And I really love that now. I truly adore like, because they like play with my emotions. Like that comic I was talking about, Sunken Rock, it really just, I mean, at times I would be laughing, at times I would just be like, oh God, this is gonna happen, because it's also very like intense, you know, and it is dark and violent, but but you know, like life is like that, you know, that like we're all over the place. Like, you know, it's like
you're right. They're all like that. Even the ones that try to be serious. Like one of the ones I like was Initial D.
What was it?
It's called Initial D. It's about like drift racing. It's very popular in the 90s. But it's these guys that are kind of like serious, badass drift racers, right? And then the main character, he kind of likes this girl, and there's like these funny scenes with him and her, or like Rurouni Kenshin. That guy's like a badass samurai, right? And then yet he gets into this goofy, childish talk when he's talking to what's her name, Karoki or something like that, you know? Kaoru, yeah. and he would allow Kaoru to beat the crap out of him.
Which is ironic because he's like the best swordsman.
He's a manslayer, you know. You know, same thing with Ranma. You have the main character, you know, getting beat up by you know, the girls in there. So there's that comedy relief that's placed in there alongside with the seriousness.
I think it adds a lot, actually.
Yes, I agree. I think Izik, is that how I pronounce your name? I'm sorry.
It's Izik. Yeah.
Izik.
It's Izik. I should have mentioned that at the beginning. It's hard to pronounce. So.
Izik. Okay, Izik. So, you know, I think you're touching on something really like interesting. You talked about how there's comedy, but it's because of that contrast. When the character does a power move, it becomes more impressive than, for example, if I read an X-Men comic, we already know they're powerful, like especially if it's at alpha level, and then they just do powers like, oh, okay, you're more powerful, great. But because they're just so humiliating, comedy, because comedy is really, in a way, like kind of tragic. It's tragedy, but it's mixed in with humiliation and embarrassment. So if you see the characters doing stupid human stuff and they look so bad, when they do something cool, it just blows your mind away. And I think
Yeah.
that's why it's so awesome. The
Yeah,
contrast.
you're probably right. The first time I ever saw something like that was Trigun, because he was so goofy, but then he would turn into a badass. It was such a contrast.
Yeah, it makes me wonder in the comic, because I didn't grow up here. I actually I'm from the East, so I grew up in the manga world anyway. In comic, do you have any like mainstream comics? Do you remember like a character that's portrayed like that, where they're really weak and pathetic, but when they get into that action mode, they just freaking blows your socks off, like intense power?
What do you think, Mel? I can't, nothing.
Kind of like Trigon, basically.
Nothing comes to mind, to be honest. And and maybe I'm wrong, but like nothing comes to mind. And honestly, when Alexa would bring stuff up like that, it seemed really like fresh to me. Like I hadn't heard of stuff like that.
The closest thing I would say is going to be Spider-Man, because they tried to show a kid that's just going to college and he's got all these flaws and these shortcomings. You know, being a nerdy guy, nobody wants to play with him. You know, that sort of thing. But he, you know, he manages to have this group of friends, right? And then all of a sudden he puts on the Spider-Man costume, and he carries that comedic talking to the villain comedy style, you know, trying to put him down, trash talk, and still be powerful, you know, and smart at it. You know?
Yeah,
that's the closest.
And that's probably when Spider-Man came out. I'm sure that's why it was so appealing. Is no one had seen something like that in the States, where it was like he wasn't just perfect, you know, because like we had Superman, and Clark Kent was this like handsome, chisel-jawed reporter, you know.
Yes.
So
because there wasn't much like young superheroes, and he was about the youngest that they had back then. There's a few others, but nothing like Spider-Man, and that was the whole intent, is that they wanted to show that, hey, there's this regular guy out there trying, and you know, and he's struggling through life. He's got a lot of issues, a lot of problems, a lot of shortcomings to deal with, but yet he's here trying to, you know, save the world every now and then, or just his city. But and I think that's what made it such a great hit, is that he was such a relatable character. You know, we could identify with him very easily. That, wow, this guy is just a regular Joe Blow, you know, like off the street. You know, kind of gave us back then guys like that, including myself, you know, that we have a chance to make it in this world.
Heck, we're not billionaire playboys like Batman.
Yeah, we're not going to be a Tony Stark.
Oh, but didn't you tell me?
We can be a Spider-Man.
But didn't you tell me Spider-Man becomes like a billionaire anyway?
Well, now
there's so many, like, does it even matter anymore though? Like, to me, when the continuity, when they started revamping everything, it was just like, oh, so it doesn't actually matter. Was my thought. But I don't know. It's like you grow up, when you're a kid growing up with that stuff, it is, oh, that's beautiful, Mog. But that stuff is like sacred, right? You know, like those comics when I was a kid, those were like, that was my mythology, and those were my heroes, you know?
Yeah.
And then when I grew up, and I was like, oh, it's just these big companies like trying to sell us underwear and Skittles and stuff. It's like,
lunchboxes.
What is happening?
Spider-Man under roof.
Yeah.
Hey, Vince, I'm excited for the Spider-Verse as well. Looking forward to that.
Oh, yeah.
CBD writes, I think before Marvel rocked the boat, I think DC stood for decidedly complacent. Yeah, you know, they were just doing something different when Marvel decided to really be present. And so, yeah, I'm a Marvel guy, so not saying that I don't like DC at all, but Marvel was my jam, you know. Back
Oh, me
then.
too.
Yeah.
It was, but I was it was Marvel, and then it was Image. So, but like back then, DC was a lot different.
Mhm.
But I did like, more in recent times, DC had a pretty cool house style once Jim Lee came over. And then you'd see a lot of stuff like Ivan Reis, and there was Shane Davis. There's like a whole new stable of artists that were just, I thought were really cool.
Yeah, he brought in quite a bit of guys, like seeing David Finch on there as well.
David Finch.
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Brett Booth.
We just recently saw Mark Silvestri doing the Batman Joker thing, you know. It's good to see his artwork again, you know. So
he might be, he's like in my top 3 favorite. So
David Finch?
I will say, I wish that it was Darkness and not Batman, but still cool.
yeah, well, they kept saying that they're going to be bringing all that back, so I'm waiting. You know, Matt was telling us, I think after COVID, and we were seeing him at the cons and stuff. Because we're going to be bringing back all these titles back in, but so I'm thinking that they should have been out already, but we haven't really seen anything. I think they kind of touched on Darkness like a little bit more. That was supposed to be their first one, and then they were going to bring back Witchblade, and then that's going to be followed up by Cyberforce. So we were just like waiting to see what happens there.
Did you say David Finch is like your top 3?
Mark Silvestri, but David Finch is very high up there too for me, big time.
So who is your top 3 besides Mark?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of floaty, but I would say up there with Silvestri is going to be Keown for sure, Del Keown.
Del Keown, yeah.
And I'm really, really big on Stephen Platt. I think he might be.
Oh, what? You know Stephen Platt?
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
Okay.
why you guys know him?
He just killed it when he came in on the scene and he was doing Moon Knight.
He's so good.
God, man, that stuff was so.
He's so good,
badass.
But he disappeared. He came briefly and then he just disappeared.
Yeah.
Well, he just did a Walking Dead. It's like 6 connecting covers or something. It's just insane. Crazy Stephen Platt detail.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
God, that guy is so good. Yeah. He has he has detail, but he has this like total loose feeling, like total confidence, like like whatever, I don't give a crap. And then it's like super tight and also in the same time free flowing. It's amazing.
But
I
if
love
you ever
it.
listen to him talk about his drawing, and he loves talking about his drawing. That guy can give you a class on anatomy.
Yeah.
Well, his DVD like changed my life. That's one of the reasons I'm so big on him.
Oh, he had a DVD?
Yeah, he did a Nomen Workshop, or however it's pronounced. And one of the things he talked about is he said he was like, people ask me about like making comics, or like, he's like, if you want to make comics, just start making comics. Like that's what you should do.
That's true.
And then I was like, all right, I'm gonna try Stephen Platt. But my art just like leveled up. It was still terrible, but I was like, I went from being really bad to being like much less bad after the Stephen Platt DVD.
Interesting. You know, that kind of made me also think about what I was thinking yesterday when I was drawing by myself. It's so funny when he's the greatest advice that you got from him. I mean, one of the greatest advice is just do it, right?
Yeah.
Like for me, I was so afraid to approach comics, the American comics, because that is so awesome. Oh my gosh.
Woo!
Oh, he's so good. He does this like the military like a fighting scene so well. Like, God damn, this guy. Yeah. This guy is so good, man. Jesus. But anyway, I forgot my train of thought. Thanks, JD.
Yeah, Stevie. I do like Liam Sharp.
Oh yeah. Me too.
love his pencils. He does some really, really good work.
Well, I
Oh,
was
okay,
just,
yes. So see, when I saw stuff like that growing up when I was here, okay, actually I didn't grow up here, but when I first encountered comics like that by Stephen Platt and Jim Lee and Mark Silvestri and all of that, I thought I can never get to that level yet. So I'm not going to do comics. I have to get to that level. So I was stuck in preparation mode because I have to like master the anatomy, the lines. I was thinking all of that. But as I'm doing interior pages now, I agree with him 100%. Just do it and you just learn as you go. Like, sure, my anatomy is not like perfect and everything, but get the story done. Just keep learning and just keep going. That's like the best. I mean, that's what I was thinking to myself. What about you?
yeah, I mean, if we were all like waiting until we were as good as Stephen Platt and Mark Silvestri, would just because those guys are that's pretty insane levels of work right there. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you, and I think that people do get kind of like they see stuff like that, and maybe they do take a step back when they should be just going for it. But
Yep.
I don't know. I mean, it's a weird thing too. Like, there's also a balance to it, in my opinion, because I do like on my stuff now. Like, I do take the time that I need to on it, and a lot of people will say just get it out so you can keep moving. But like for me, I know that these comics are gonna be left behind. You know, they're still gonna be around. So I would rather spend the time needed and make that comic something I'm really proud of, because the corporate model of just, you know, pumping it out each month has left us with stuff that could have been a lot better. You know, like I look back at those comics that I loved so much growing up and realize like the crazy deadlines that everyone was on, and that no one could just like really like talk about like how, let's make something special that, you know, is like people are going to be talking about forever, you know. And like I understand the business side of this, where the idea is just like, okay, we need new material on the shelf each month. But like if you look at like, here's one of the things that happened in the 90s, and Mel, you probably will be able to confirm or let me know if I'm off on this. But so in the 90s, like the hot artists were what were selling, right? It was Liefeld, Lee, and McFarlane at the top. And if you had a hot artist and an image book, like that stuff was going to sell like crazy. On the other hand, like the Vertigo stuff was just doing regular numbers, like nothing special, even though the writers on those titles were considered to be of the same skill level as the hot artists.
Yeah.
But what happened over time is like, and the artists would comment on that, like, hey, no one's selling, you know, hundreds of thousands of copies of, you know, Neil Gaiman, you know. But so over time, though, the trades continued to sell because people wanted those stories, you know, and people kept going back to that. And all those guys, Grant Morrison, you know, all the Vertigo guys, they've been collecting royalties for 30 years on really popular graphic novels.
Yeah.
And I really wonder, like, how does that even out? You know, because those Image guys, they like made their money during the bubble, you know, but it was like kind of, and they're still making money now, obviously, but it's not millions, you know, like it was back then. So I really wonder, and what if they had teamed up, you know, and they had both, and they had all of those, the hype sells, and then the stuff from people wanting to read the stuff. So that's kind of where my head is at with this stuff, because I think on the business side, when you really like take the time on the story and everything, in the long run, you might have just a much better product. So
you're absolutely right about that. It's the great stories that we read that we want, and if it has good art, you know, we're gonna want it as well. You can look at Uncanny X-Men, the the John Byrne, Terry Austin, Chris Claremont run is still one of the most highly sought after X-Men issues in the Bronze Age for that, right? Starting with Uncanny X-Men, which none of them were on.
Right.
The Giant Size X-Men #1, which none of them were on at that time, but it wasn't later, right? But there was some great stories that came out of that. If you look, and you're right to bring up Vertigo, okay, because Vertigo that's where they put their top writers on, and they came out with some a great collection of stories.
Yeah.
Magic, Sandman, Fables, all that came from them, along with a bunch of others, and that's the stuff that people are still wanting to buy and collect. And some of that you can't even get right now because they still want to put it out yet, and it's causing those trade paperbacks to become like a collector's item. So now you're having to pay more for them.
For a trade.
Which is kind of ridiculous. It's not supposed to happen for a trade paperback, but yet it is.
Yeah. Well, if they end the print run, then that's a very collectible item.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with all those early Image books is they were just so insanely overprinted. But actually, I'm pretty okay with that because I still love that stuff. I can't help it. Like, and I've been able to fill in my collection like out of dollar bins and stuff like that, which is great.
That's the great thing. That's what I kind of like look for now, is that I may not want to buy that stuff right now and pay that cover price to it because I know that the price is gonna come down and I can eventually find it at some point in time. It may not be as easy like it was before because the production runs, the actual print runs are so low compared to what they were back in the 80s and the 90s. But still get kind of like lucky. The other side of that is the artist. When you talk about if you want to look at what is going to be more memorable, there's going to be some artists that will stand the test of time.
Yeah.
But I'm looking back at like in the 80s when I was collecting the names that I used to hear that were very common during around that time, and they're not artists. These guys are respected, but they're not sought after like they were back then. Guys like there's going to be a collector market for them, but they don't get quite the demand as they did before. Guys like John Byrne, Barry Windsor Smith, very respected artists. Guys like that, Mike Zeck. God, when I see him, it's there's hardly anybody at his table, but which is great because then it's easy for me to go up there and talk to him. Not like some
people don't know because that's like those guys.
Mm-hmm.
And those are massive names. It's just that I think back then too there wasn't as much fanfare in comics, so like things really blew up after their day. So guys like those guys, and even Neil Adams too, to some extent, they kind of came in right before things went crazy. So
Neil Adams had his run and then he kind of stepped back because he was doing continuity at the time. But and then he came back to like mainstream. But Neil is credited for a lot of things in support of the artist and bringing the way how we look at an artist now has changed a lot because of him. Not only did he change our view as readers and collectors, but also the artists as well. Because at that time, the artists didn't even appreciate or value their work, and he was able to change that around so that way we have that appreciation now. So
that's a really good point, Mel. That I kind of want to suddenly switch it back to Izik. Are you precious with your work where you save every drawing? You're like, yes, my precious. Or were you the type that used to just like throw it away and like not crap about it? Like,
no, I never threw it away, but I mean, well, I guess in a way I've been kind of a nomad, just wandering around the planet my whole life. So that stuff tends to get left behind, unfortunately. Yeah. Like I actually don't own any, for the most part, any of my old art, but I wasn't
Yeah.
very good back then, anyways.
Oh,
Oh, it's
can you tell me-
awesome, by the way, Mog.
Oh, thank you. It's your world.
Woohoo!
Wow.
Here we go. Shrine is looking good.
I'm sorry to say this, but Izik, your girl really
Yeah.
reminds me of your is it your fiance now? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Alexa.
Yeah.
He's my muse.
Yes, your muse. Your
Yeah.
muse. You know this? Yeah, my muse is is here. My
Will do. Okay, so we're going to take a break right now. But
Yeah.
before we do that, I want to thank Vince for placing those bids. You both got 60 bucks.
Oh, thank you,
each on
Vince.
them, right now.
Thank you.
Woohoo, yay.
Good to
Nice.
see you here, Vince. Hopefully, we'll see you soon as well. And on that note, we'll be right back with
Yes.
Izik Bell again. We'll be talking more comics. Stay tuned.
Why was Princess Zelda sad after watching a bunch of YouTube videos? She couldn't find the link in the description. We'll stop if you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's super easy. Click subscribe and click the bell when you do. And thanks for supporting the EXP.
Did you know that across America there are over 2, maybe even 3 live stream producers who can't even afford Mountain Dew? Take Brian here. Brian has gone 2 weeks without a sip of Red Bull. If it goes on much longer, he may take a shower and get a real job. Situations like this are as tragic as they are preventable. Join the experience on YouTube and gain access to special emojis and members-only streams. For less than a cup of coffee, you can keep socially awkward hermit people working from their parents' basements where they belong. Scan the QR code on the screen to join. You'll be glad you did.
What if Hans Gruber from Die Hard had to battle the Joker from Batman the Animated Series in a dance battle? Or who would win in a race between Baby from Baby Driver and Snidely Whiplash? If Austin Powers and Shrek found themselves in a hot dog eating contest, who would emerge victorious? These are the questions we talk about on Nerd Killer Warfare. Debate the most absurd questions you've ever heard in popular culture. Register now by scanning the QR code or visiting bit.ly/EXP casting.
Welcome back to Sketch Up on the Experience. We have Izik Bell here with us today, and we're going to continue with that. Before I do, just want to make sure if you guys like art, make sure you turn into Nick Barucci's original art show on Fridays at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That guy is constantly selling some fantastic art by some great artists at unbelievable prices. So if you're looking to start up an art collection, that is a great place to do that. And reading some of the comments here, Vince is all over. Yeah, hello again, Vince. All right, so Mog has got hers. We currently have a bid of $60 on both of them. that Vince has placed. If you would like to place a bid on that, we are accepting the next bid of 65 or better.
Yeah. So for the
So,
sorry, go ahead.
and I got to tell you, those bids are still ridiculously low for the kind of art that these guys are putting out. So you can still take advantage of them.
Exactly, guys. And to kind of, for those who just like got in right now, Isaac's, I'm doing something inside his like shrine world. And brief synopsis, if I heard this correctly, is there's this like a sex bot, a pleasure bot, and she gets possessed by a demon, and then she goes crazy, kind of like, I don't know if you guys ever watched the old anime like Spriggan. He's an assassin since he was born, a manufactured assassin, and if you say some sort of like code name, he goes berserk and kills everyone. So she did that, and then she finds out, and then later on she saves this other girl who was being, I guess, sexually abused, and by doing that she realizes she's also a robot in the same make of her, so it's like they're sisters.
Okay.
And then I think future story-wise, she'll encounter more and more of her sisters, and I'm thinking this is kind of like one of the sisters that I mean, I'm just kind of like free flowing here.
That's cool.
That's
Your
cool.
own design, your own twist, another sister waiting in the dark.
It's kind of like John Wick, where she's gonna start killing all her sisters except maybe a couple of the nice ones. I don't know how Isaac's gonna do the story, but I'm just like going basically. Imagining in my head.
And we want to thank Celia for that bid, $75 on Isaac Bell's sketch cover there. Thank you very much.
Oh, here, let me show you the art so far. So this is going to be Shrine, and she is on a METALSHADE issue 0 sketch cover. So if you're not familiar with the sketch cover, it is actually a comic.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, METALSHADE 0.
So this is actually an issue of METALSHADE issue 0. So it is full of more art by me and Alexa Lowe. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really great art. If you haven't seen Isaac's art, you can head over to that Kickstarter Shrine, and you'll see that he does display the ink page, some of the ink pages along with the color pages, so you can see that transition and appreciate both aspects of that art. Yeah.
Thank you, Vincent. Really appreciate it. I actually really enjoyed doing the commission for you. But yeah, you know, I was thinking about what you were saying. I was trying to like reiterate in my head, Isaac, about like the kind of the flow of the industry, the change of it. But I think I was once listening to a panel between Eric Canetti and other like 5 prominent comic artists, and they were saying interesting, like in the 80s, like 70s, 80s, 90s, it was the artist was more of the prominent one, and then something shifted around 2000 or mid, where now it's not about the artist anymore, it's about the writer. The writer became more prominent than the artist, like the credit or whatever is going to there.
It wasn't Eric that was saying that there, but they had one guest that was saying that the writer is more prominent than the artist today. But for me, I disagree with that. I think it's the artist that is still more prominent, and you can easily see that when you go to the cons, right? Most of the creatives that are there, they're the artists.
Yeah,
some of them do right, but yeah.
So here's my theory on that whole thing, because you're totally right. Things have shifted a lot. So the thing that happened in the 90s, the big companies never want that to happen again, because all of the creators took the power away from them.
Oh, the artist.
Yeah. The artist took the power away from them.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and the artists, they had all the power and they didn't really know what to do with it.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
They didn't hang on to it. But that's what happened. they took over. Like when I was a kid reading comics, actually Image was the biggest company and Marvel was second. And like all the kids at my school didn't like DC. They liked anything but DC actually during that time. So,
yeah.
But so I think what happened is Marvel and DC, like that's a nightmare for them. So they switched things. Like if you look at comics today, like usually the big name artists, they're illustrators. They're cover artists, like Art Germ or like any of those guys. Right?
Yeah.
So and then if you look at the interiors, for the most part, like it's going to be stacked horizontal panels, no hatching, like
really
no crazy
bad
layouts, like no fun, you know,
no backgrounds, hardly anything, no elements.
It kills my joy.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like a manga.
I don't know what happened.
Because
like,
they're putting in speed lines in.
That's what I was thinking too. Like, what happened like back in the 90s, even up to the early 2000s? Like Michael Turner, do you see his interior page? It's freaking awesome. I mean, that's why people kept buying that crap. Buying that. And now it's like, oh my god, the interior pages are so horrible sometimes. It's like cringe just to like look at it.
Yeah.
What the heck? Why did the art drop?
But that's the reason why. It's that they're, like what Izik is saying, is that those big companies are not assigning them
really
that kind of.
They're not paying them to do.
They're giving them to do variant cover work.
The thing is, those artists that do variant covers, they have no interest in making their own comic book company and making comics. They're illustrators. They love doing the covers, and like they get a big name off of that anyways. And then they take that to the conventions and they make a bunch of money doing conventions. Yeah. So, Chris is here. Hey, Chris.
Hey,
Chris. I was thinking about Chris because like I was gonna be like, man, it's gonna be so funny if the sketch cover sells for like $50, and then I tell Chris tomorrow. He'll be like, man, I wish I tuned in.
Oh, now he has his chance. Okay, so Izik has a bid of 75 on his from Ilya, and Mog has a bid of $60 on hers from Vince.
Yes.
So we are taking additional bids still at $5 increments. So if you want to place a bid on those, put in the respective $5 increment on there, and you might have a chance to take it home. We've still got about 40 minutes left on the show, but it is going quick. And that's I'm drinking the same. I'm drinking the same thing.
Oh man, that's no calories, right?
Low calories, yeah, exactly. That's it. I actually got a special deal on these too, so that's another reason. But yeah, we're stocked up.
You bought a crate.
We get them by the crate too.
Yeah.
He bought recently a crate.
Great advice.
I bought a crate on it to get a good price on them.
It's interesting that you said that, Mog, about that person mentioning that artists were more prominent. I think that there probably is a push, because I think that those companies know that like the writers aren't going to run off with their fan base or whatever, so maybe there is a push to like make the writers like the rock stars.
That's what he said, that the rock stars now.
And like
you've actually described the correct scenario that's sitting there now, but are the writers the rock stars?
No. You don't see that at all. You were there in the height of it, Mel. I'm sure that you saw the craziness in the 90s.
Oh yeah.
But what he was talking about, because he works within the industry like Marvel and DC. I mean, not to single him out. All of the artists there, they were professionals in M&D world, and they all agreed that it's a strange phenomenon suddenly how they were the way they were running the companies were running it, they got pushed like down, and the writers got pushed like up, and they were like, what happened? I don't know, something like that. But in reality, when you go to a con, it just doesn't work that way.
No, it's all about the art. You know, the writers are still going to get credit, and there's guys out there that still that get like a lot of attention.
But and I'm
for
sorry,
being a writer.
I'm
but
sorry.
that's not this.
I think we cut Izik off. He was about to say something
No.
about that.
I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe I was, but I can't remember my thought anyway. So.
Okay, and we want to thank Vince again. Vince is coming on. He's placed a bid of $80 on both your pieces.
Woohoo!
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Vince. And what types of payment do you accept, Izik?
We have PayPal and Venmo, I think.
Okay, that's the same with us. We take PayPal and Venmo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're daring enough and you want to give us your credit card over the phone, we're willing to do that too.
Yeah, you know what I used to do is I had a Etsy shop. So if somebody wanted to use their credit card, I would just create an item for that transaction. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But you said that you were a nomadic person. What kind of nomadic are you talking about?
I wouldn't do that, Chris. Do not drop that credit card in the chat, dude.
I guess he has the winning bid.
If you are the high bidder, there is a form for you to fill out. So you'll fill that out. That'll collect your information, and that your information will get forwarded to the artist that you were the high bidder on, and they will go ahead and contact you to complete that transaction. So that's basically how that works. Right. So bid away. We're waiting to hear get a bid from you, Chris. But so we were talking about writers, So I think Chris Claremont still commands a nice line. That's one artist that does. Peter David is another writer that I like, and I do see him around now and then, but it's unfortunate that he's got he's in a situation where he has a bad health. So if you get a chance, go ahead and send him some love. I'm sure he'd like to hear from everyone.
Peter David.
Yeah, Peter David.
I'm a big fan of his Hulk stuff. I've been picking up the Del Keones, so.
Oh yeah.
I've been reading that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Bendis was the first one where they were like, "This is our guy. This is our like new rock star." And
Bendis. Yeah, when he came on pretty strong. He does he writes everything like it's going to be a TV or a movie series.
Yeah.
Back then, I thought his Daredevil stuff was just really cool. Simply because I hadn't seen anything like that. It was such a fresh take on the character. So
that's what we want to see, or we'd like to see. It's hard to do that every single time. You've got to get someone that understands the character and knows how to show an aspect of the character that we haven't seen, or put him in a situation that we haven't seen and that hasn't been used too often. Robert Kirkham, again, that's another one who understood the business and what his position was and how he could propel himself than just being somebody that was producing comics for Image. Right?
Yeah.
And because of that, they made him an associate or like a partner in Image.
And I would say out of everyone, he's probably the one that like might be close to that rock star status. And it comes down to not being a writer, but being a creator. Like that's why, because he created Walking Dead and and so.
And I remember when that book was came out too. The numbers on it were like really low because
which both of them, right? Walking Dead.
Because we were going. This is
especially Walking Dead.
A superhero book. Why do I want this? This is about zombies. Is this a comic book for real? But then look at it. It's like a few months later, that stuff was like taking off, and those issues became really hard, and they started climbing up in value there.
I think no matter what we try to do, guys, like what people, I guess the corporate or whatever tries to do, the artist will always kind of, I hate to say this, will get the majority of the credit or the blame, depending on how bad they are. The story is just because it's like the actor. It's like an actor, right?
Yeah, true.
It's not the actor who's doing the movie, really, if you think about it, but they become the face of it. So
yeah, and there are comics where that with an artist that I really like, where the story is terrible, and I just have a bad feeling about it, you know. And it's like you don't necessarily want to have your name attached to that. Like if you think of like the All-Star Batman stuff, things like that, you know, where it's like you just want to love it, but
yeah, like for me, I can't help but like think it's your fault, like the artist's fault. You suck, but it could be, now that I'm actually working inside, it's not sometimes always the case. It's the writer. So it's like a mixed bag of responsibility.
Vince is saying that the inkers should get top billing.
Inkers?
Yeah.
And these days the colorists. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Colors definitely for sure. Because when you look
these
at
days,
pencils that are being turned in now, they're nothing like what they used to be.
Or sometimes the pencils are so good, but the color is so bad, it just kills it. So I have mixed opinions about that too.
But
or it's just a really simple line art, and the colorist turns it into a beautiful painting. I see a lot of that.
You're relying on the colorist to add in the effects, figure out the lighting. They're even putting the core shadows in there for them, and figuring out rendering and
doing all the work.
They're doing a lot of work that the pencilers used to do.
Yeah, and I was like thinking back in the days, like even just up to the early 2000s, there were so many great comic artists. Like it was like God level. It's just incredible. Even the interior pages is like, oh my God, I can never get there. But now you open up a page, it's like, wow. And when you get I hate to say this, again, please, this is just my opinion. Okay, I'm not saying this is the case for everybody, but when you ask even the illustrators or colorist, cover artist, when you see their artwork and then you meet them at the con and then you actually see their sketches, it's like totally different from the polished work. That it's like, oh my God, what's going on? There's a total disparity. But back then, if you go to the artist, what's going on now?
I don't know, but that was awesome.
Nice background sound effect.
Yeah, but back then when you go to the actual artist and then you get a sketch, it's like blows your mind. This is freaking awesome. It matches the quality. So I don't know. I sound like an old man now. Back in the days. I feel sad.
You're right about that. Steranko's art in the artist editions is flat without any colors. Yeah, that might have been an error rate. Yeah, and you know what it probably was. So on that note, we are going to take a break. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Izik, and we'll be talking more about comics.
Join the party. Head over to our link tree to find all the links for everywhere the experience is all the time.
Comic Collectibles is here for you every Wednesday with AR Comics for two very important reasons: to sell you rare, one-of-a-kind comics that you'll love, and to confuse AR with old man talk. You see, Rex and John are, how should I put this, ancient as the roots of the mountains. So every week, Rex and John fill in AR in yet another area of pop culture that he missed because he's too young, just didn't have the time, or just really doesn't care about. It's a real public service they provide. Come buy some super rare and unique comics, while old men explain long-dead sci-fi shows to a younger man making that confused puppy face. every Wednesday from 6 to 8 Eastern with Rex, John, and AR Comics. Comic Collectibles on The Experience. Comic culture and sales. Imagine being at a convention and going to an interview panel that's just for you. No bustling crowds, no hours-long lines, just you, the moderator, and your favorite comic book creators. Well, this is pretty much that. Miss Jen sits down every week with 2 comic book creators for a live stream interview about their latest work, and you can ask them whatever you want. It's Talking Shop, Mondays at 5 Eastern on The Experience, Comic Culture and Sales.
Programming on the EXP is made possible by viewers like you, or your local comic shop, or that Kickstarter you backed, or the publisher you like, or comic industry professionals who want to share a message with the world. Really, anyone who wants to advertise with us can. If you're interested in seeing a product you know and love, or are creating, or are publishing, or are involved with, advertised here on The Experience, and having your message shared with our viewers, please reach out by scanning the QR code below or visiting our website and using the contact form.
Welcome back to Sketch Up on The Experience. Thank you again for joining us. We have Izik Bell with us tonight. Chris, I do agree with you.
I agree with Chris too.
You know, he says, I've become a huge fan of the METALSHADE series.
Yes.
Creators lately, they are definitely keeping soul in the stories and art that mainstream seems to be lacking lately.
Yes, that's the word. Chris, you put the finger on the pulse, because I was trying to say, how can I say this correctly? And with Izik's METALSHADE, it's like the moment we first saw it, when especially Mel, because he's more nostalgic about that 90s comic, it's like he brought that soul of the comic back, and he was unabashed about that, and it was so like, yes, felt good.
Well, thank you.
That's the kind of art that I grew up with. And I like this. I like the art that I was seeing in the 70s as well. You know, guys that like Michael Kaluta, Charles Vess, Mike Cruz, and to name along with the other guys like Steranko, Neil Adams, and those guys too. But in the 80s, it kind of really just took another big leap when you had those guys come in, Jim Lee, McFarlane, and then they were just followed by a big list of great artists that came down all the way through the 90s, right? And Izik is kind of like almost like a remnant of that era, still, you know, trying to do that kind of art, and it's art that I like, that I appreciate. I got to know a lot of the Image guys because they were all locally here in California, hung out with them and stuff.
That's cool.
Like
were some of the studios there around you? Like what?
Yeah, I mean, they were
spread out.
I never went to their studios, but there was this place called Frank and Sons where I was a dealer in there, and it's a weekly. It started out as a weekly show, like every Wednesdays, and then it went to Wednesdays and Saturday. But that place is constantly packed like you would not believe. Even today now, it's a 3-day show every Wednesday, Saturday, and Sunday. And that place is freaking packed every day. It is a hell of a time to try and find parking there. But anyway, so a lot of Image guys would come over there. They would hang out with us dealers. I had guys like Joe Weems, Philip Tan,
Joe
Benitez. What's the other guy I was just talking to?
Sometimes Rob Liefeld, you said.
Yeah, Rob Liefeld. I kind of knew, back then I knew Rob better. I actually had him do a store appearance in my store.
Dan Mickey.
And yeah,
Who's
Dan, Rob Liefeld actually had him do a store appearance. And the funny thing is that I got him to do an appearance for $500. That was cheap, right? And then and that was in December of, I forget what year it was. But the following year, he jumped it up to 1,000 and just kept climbing after that, because that's when their popularity was like was starting to get like really big. But I had initially met him at a show, and he had a table next to me, and I think he means 89, 80, 85, 86, 87. 87 just came out. Okay. And I had brought with me a long box filled with those issues, one each. So I had like one box filled with New Mutants, like 85 and going down. Right. So I showed it to him. He goes, "Wow, you bought that much of my stuff?" "Yeah, I think you're really good." So I was sitting next to him selling these comics for $3 a pop. And then he would just pop over to his table and sign them. So I asked him, "Hey, would you like to do a signing at my store?" And that was an easy yes.
Wow.
That following year, before he really took off, started charging a whole lot more. And he had that at that show. He had the front page that was the splash page that was inked by Scott Williams. Okay.
Oh yeah.
So, What If #7, which was what if Wolverine was Nick Fury and Shield. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I know that.
Great page, because Wolverine is kind of like going up the wall with his blades going up in his hand like that, right?
Yeah.
So, and he's like doing this full body stretch. So it's a great Wolverine page, right? So he started it off at like $350. Okay. And I was like debating, said, "Man, I should buy that, because that's such a great page," and I liked it. And his work looked, that page looked really hot with Scott Williams inking over it, because Scott just corrected a lot of things in there. And so I go, $350 is what you want, right? And he goes, "No, 500." So throughout the day, he kept bumping it up. By the time we left, it was like $1,500.
That was still a steal.
But he told us later he sold it for like 3,000 or 3,500. So I don't know if he really did or not, but
I'm sure now it's worth a lot.
Yeah,
A lot of the
that was a lot
90s.
of money back then.
Yeah, the
350 was already high, but
yeah. Well, these days, like the comics aren't worth a lot, but the original art is.
yeah,
That stuff is insane. There's so much detail in it. Like a lot of that stuff sells for higher than like classic like Kirby stuff.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
like if you put them next to each other, you'll be like, oh, well, there's an evolution that happened here.
Yes.
And a lot of
Yes.
people don't like to admit it, but
yeah,
it's like that stuff in the early image. It was like you took the like basics that we got from Kirby and then added in all the rendering and stuff, and added in like the details, and it's just
yeah, I agree. Because even some of that stuff from when you look at the comics in the Golden Age, you would think that some of that, especially with the production runs they had then and the attitude they had towards comics, were they're pretty much like a throwaway.
yeah,
I mean,
exactly,
you
for
throw
kids,
away.
right?
Yeah, you would think that the values on a lot of that Golden Age stuff would be much higher than what you see them out there for, especially when you can find them in like a fine or close to a near mint condition. Because those are rare.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So Ilya just placed $85, an $85 bid on yours, Isaac. Thank you for that, Ilya.
Thank you, Ilya.
And we still have $80 on Mog. If you want to place a bid, we are accepting bids in $5 increments, and you have 20 minutes left to get these bids in. Okay? Still got a lot of time. And
We can get these details in here. So
we're
whoever
getting the details in there.
nice.
Yep. Mog is working hers. Isaac is working his. Yep.
I'm excited about Shrine's new sister over there. That tech you're putting in there is looking really sick.
I don't know what I'm doing. Just like making her psychotic as possible. Just kidding.
Yeah. You're
Lots of fun.
ad-libbing cyber tech stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's what I do.
she's doing.
I kind of want her to be very flat, like young looking, flat chested, for those people who are, kind of likes the lolicon.
Ah, okay.
That's a good thing to talk about right there. Ilya brought up a point there.
What?
Artists charging for autographs has gotten crazy. What's your thoughts on that, Izik?
Oh, I don't know. I don't charge for an autograph because I don't have a much of a name, but
What the heck? You're famous.
yeah. I don't know. Like, here's the thing. Like, I thought Eric Larson said, and this was back in the day, he would do like 3 for free, and then after that he would charge like $5 or something. And like the thing that happens is people will bring you a stack like this to sign.
Yeah.
And you're sitting there and it's work to sit there and sign all those things. So I think like it would be cool to be like, like 1 for free or something. And then after that, like, because what happens is you give your signature and then they go flip it on, or they go sell it on eBay. So sometimes you feel kind of used, I would imagine. So that's because I ran into that a lot. Like, we don't have that problem yet, but where creators would be like, okay, like they would do the signature for free if they personalized it, because then they knew I wasn't selling it on eBay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't care. I mean, I do them for free, but also, like, please don't bring me like a huge stack like this, because that would really suck. That's all I'm saying.
Stevie, I don't think we can extend the show, but you can place your bid and pay. You don't have to pay right away. But within a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah. And guys,
will be good enough.
This superstar Isaac's work, I mean, you guys are getting a phenomenal deal anyway, so just keep bidding on it, dude. Yeah. It's okay.
My thing, and I was one of those guys. I would show up at San Diego Comic-Con, and I would have like 3 long boxes in my car. Okay?
Yeah, I bet you did.
Yeah. Now back then, I would be able to park in the San Diego parking lot.
Oh yeah.
So it was easy to run up and down.
Yeah.
Not like today. Okay. And I would bring a stack. Okay. But my stack would be each issue. Like if I brought an X-Men run, right, it would be a run on X-Men. You're not going to see like multiples of a single issue, because that was all for me. Right. So yeah, I would have Claremont sign like 50 copies, because plus that guy's got a beautiful signature, if you've seen that.
Oh, who's that again?
Chris Claremont.
Claremont? Cool.
Yeah, he's got a beautiful signature.
I bet you have a crazy collection.
Yeah, and then there's who else had a good signature? Dave Dorman was pretty good.
Dave Dorman?
Well.
Yeah. He's the one who did the retro look thing, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
His stuff was so nice, and he died so young.
No, Dave Dorman is still around.
Is he?
Yeah, he's not dead.
Isn't it the guy who did the retro-looking, vintagey, robot-looking? He's always wearing the air pilot jacket.
Well, he does
the brown jacket.
He's a painter. He does.
Not okay.
He's an acrylic painter, and he was one of the early guys back. He did a lot of covers, a lot of independent covers. And I still have them, but he would work on like large matted canvases, like I don't know, almost like 24 by 36 during back then at the time.
Okay, then who's the guy who died young? And
Dave Stevens.
Dave Stevens,
yes.
Yes.
Who you're talking about.
Okay, yeah.
That guy was a good artist as well.
Yeah.
That's sad. Yeah, there's a lot of that too in the early 90s artists, because there were so many new people popping up, and some of them were just really promising talents. And so it's always sad when someone goes early, and they're, especially when you can see that they're going to be going into like their prime and leave behind all kinds of cool stuff.
Yeah, like Al Rio was in one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Al Rio was one from the Image as well.
What was that comment? Something about Silvestri?
I think somebody said they
I'm
love
biased, but I like Sylvester's signature and Michael Turner's.
Yeah.
You know what's
Yeah.
interesting? Like, isn't it like, for me, certain signatures would excite me almost like the art, because I was just so used to seeing them next to something amazing. So yeah,
Yes.
like Mike Turner, like his signature is so beautiful and it fits like with his style so well, you know?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you can talk about guys like that. Even Mike Zeck had a very nice signature
Yeah.
as well. You know?
Just to get the signature, you feel like your heart's about to like burst open and you can die now. You know, just kind of.
Yeah, it was kind of like sad bringing
Yeah.
5 copies, the whole run, the whole miniseries of Punisher to Mike Zeck, and I'm going, damn, I wish I had more for him to sign. But that was it. That was it at that time. Thank you, Stevie. He says, Bog, I really like the Ninja Witch piece I recently received from you. It really was some great detail pencil work. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much.
That was on the SketchUp show that we had with
I don't
Amy
remember,
Hunt.
but this.
I remember.
I'm so bad. Hey, are you like this too, Isaac? Where you have like kind of like amnesia about what kind of art you did, and you're later on after 2 years, you look and say, "Huh, I did that."
Well, we're like doing such different stuff. It used to be like that, because like it seems like with you, you're always drawing something new, and you're very fast with everything too, right? Like, look at that thing. Like, where did that come from?
I don't.
That was what, like an hour and a half ago, that was a blank piece of paper. That's crazy. Like, mine is a little more, you know,
But it's clean.
a lot less lines in there.
But I'm messy. Yours is clean.
Yeah, yours, mine is looking more like a sketch.
Yeah, I'm just
Well, mine
moving
is
the pencil.
looking. Actually, I'm liking how this is turning
Yeah,
out.
I like what you're doing.
You know, like talking and drawing is pretty cool. Actually, I like that.
Oh, you don't talk and draw much, huh?
No, I don't. I'm usually just by myself most of the time. I always have horror movies playing. That's my company. My soundtrack is like ominous music and people screaming and stuff. So.
That's
That was my next question.
That's
What kind of?
actually typical of a lot of artists that I've hung out with through the day.
But
They
that
would
makes
have
sense.
something loud and kind of like pounding in the background to kind of helps to energize them and get them going. You know, get
Not
that
all.
hand. No, not all.
Like he's saying that he likes the creepy, haunting music,
yeah,
the scary kind,
yeah. A lot
or
of,
even horror movies. He just puts on the background.
There's a lot of artists that
That makes
that are
sense.
like that.
Because when I heard the premise of your story, Isaac, it reminded me of the actual case where I forgot the serial killer, the guy's name, the killer's name, but he killed a director's wife, and he was doing Hamlet. He was directing Hamlet,
Oh.
and I think it's Manson or something. He was a cult.
You're talking
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Charles Manson.
Yeah, he had a cult.
Yeah.
And he had all these women who was in love with him, and he did all this like crazy stuff, and he would convince them this is the way, and they would just go in and kill people and use them for whatever.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, your story is similar to that. And do you research actual like crimes done by psychopaths or something to get because your story is surprisingly really dark.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Like
it's
serial
not-
killer dark, some of them.
it's interesting you say that, because like I don't necessarily research that for the comics, but like that is just something that I find very interesting, basically. So, and actually I never was into horror before, but I was into like true crime and psychology, especially psychology. Like that's me and Alexa, that's our big thing. Like the lens that we view the world through is definitely true, like thinking about things in a psychological way, you know, for sure. And so true crime and like dark stuff, like cults, serial killers, all the like the worst stuff. It's just so interesting to me, and I'm not really sure why, but and then peripherally, I was always into horror because of that. But and then just recently, this past like I don't know, probably like 4 or 5 months, I just kind of got really into just having the music playing, and I love having it in the background. It just inspires me, and I'm not sure why, but I just go with it.
So Stevie B writes in here, Izik, Mog has learned to ignore Mel. You had to talk to him while you tried to work. Nice.
I don't quite get the comment.
He's kind of explaining a little bit of like what's going on. And then JD is asking, what movies do you just click on random from Shudder?
Yeah, I love Shudder. I love a lot of their original stuff. I just saw one called From the Black that I just love. It has such great music and cinematography. There are just like certain moments where it's just, I don't know, it just gives me chills. I think I nerd out about horror movies way more than comics now, because like comics for me, I'm just like studying them constantly. So it's more like I'm like taking all these comics apart and trying to reverse engineer them, but I'm not necessarily consuming them and enjoying them as entertainment as much as I used to these days.
Oh my God, yes.
And that is the bummer when we
it is, right? It bums me out sometimes.
Even for myself, I have a hard time reading the comic book, and I'm thinking, oh, this is a cool thing he did here. Oh, this is nice. You know, it's like I'm breaking it down as to what is good, what worked, what didn't work, and I'm not really getting into the story of it all.
Yeah, it's hard to get immersed in the story when you're just like trying to reverse engineer everything.
Yeah, and I do hate that.
Yeah, but with the horror movies, it's just it's something that I don't know anything about. I didn't grow up watching this. I was terrified of stuff like that growing up, so it feels very fresh to me.
Okay, so are you more than fascinated within the horror genre, like the psycho killer type of thing, where there's a lot of actual reality-based stuff, or the ghost-like spectral ones, or monsters? Like, which one are you really like attracted to at this moment?
It's definitely supernatural stuff. Like I like being scared by ideas, actually. And I don't know how else to describe it than that, but it is definitely supernatural stuff. Like I'm not so into, like it really hurts me to watch people like being killed and stuff like that. I don't actually enjoy that at all. I don't like gore or any of those things. But I love getting sucked into a really dark story, and I love being scared. Like I think that's what it is, like the experience of just feeling that, like, oh man, because like that comes out, and it's fun.
Okay, so then tell me a movie that represented that for you.
So some of my favorites are gonna be like, I really loved It Follows. I love there's one that just came out called Smile. And it's not like anything new. It's just like a very stylish telling of like what happens when you encounter a parasite, and you can't get away from it. Right? There's a lot more to it than that, and that's not even of it. But like, Smile was good. I could go on and on. You guys can tell I'm getting excited. I don't get excited about anything this much except for comics and horror movies.
All right, and just to let everybody know, you have 5 minutes left for the show before we come to a close. So
I'm gonna put my signature on this one, and
so sexy.
With it. Yeah, I think she turned out pretty cute.
Cute and sexy.
Thank you.
Mhm. Wow. I thought that you also might be interested in sci-fi because you do this metal girl type of um, thing. So, but surprisingly, you're
Yeah.
really into horror.
Yeah. No, I've always been into sci-fi too. I think like for some reason the horror thing has been a recent thing that I just got really excited about. I'm fanboying out over horror these days, I guess. Like I was laying here the other day, like half asleep on the couch, and there was a sci-fi movie playing in the background, and I kept like realizing that nothing scary was going to happen, and I was actually like in my delirium wondering, like, why do they make movies where nothing scary happens? I was really wondering that. I mean, I understand, like, of course they do, but crazy thoughts that go through my head.
Right, so before we close out here, Isaac, can you let our viewers know what cons will you be at, and what's the best? How can they? Where can they see your work?
Okay, where can they see my work?
Or buy your work. Like,
So, like, I would just Google my name because then all of my social media will come up, my Kickstarter campaigns. Then you'll be able to go to whatever you use because I'm on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and
He's all over the place.
I'm all over the place.
I actually like your YouTube content.
Thank you. Thank you. That's something I need to like focus more on, but hopefully I'll get time. We'll see. But oh yeah, so yeah, I would just say just go with Google for that. And what was the other question?
What cons will you be attending in the near future?
We're gonna be at Denver Fan Expo. Are you guys gonna be?
Oh, will we be there?
Yeah, we'll be there.
Okay.
Sweet. Did I talk to you there last year, Mel? I
No,
think that,
your girlfriend.
It was at Dallas when we first were at a con together. We were introduced by Ron Zabala.
Right. Yeah.
And that was, I think it was like, that was 2 years ago already.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun show.
Mhm. And so currently we have a bid on Isaac's at 85 from Ilya, and Mog is at $80 from Vince. So you still have a little time to get a bid in if you would like to win that. Mog will be at Phoenix Fan Expo next weekend, June 2nd to the 4th.
Cool.
The weekend after that, she'll be back at Dallas, Fan Expo Dallas. And 2 weeks after that, we will be there with Izik at the Fan Expo Denver. So that's going to be a little trip there.
Yeah.
All right, Chris just placed a bid of $100 on both pieces, and then Ilya came back with $105 on Izik.
My God.
Thank you very much for that, guys.
Thank you.
There is still a little bit of
You guys are wonderful.
time left on there. And
But yeah, did you you said you led a pretty nomadic life. Are you like a military brat or something?
Kind of. I mean, my dad was military, and then I was too. But a lot of it too is, I don't know. It's just like kind of in me to. I'm restless, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I understand. Mm-hmm.
okay, so Chris now has 110 on both. Ilya came back with
Heating up.
110, and I'm assuming, Ilya, that's 120 on Izik. Yeah.
He only has
They're
eyes for Izik.
They're battling it out.
Ilya, you have exquisite taste.
Okay.
Izik is worth it.
And we're going to close it off right there. It is at 9 o'clock. So thank you guys for joining us. And we want to thank Izik for really joining us and having a really great show.
It was a really good show.
We enjoyed the topics that we had
guys.
Today and the beautiful art that you produced as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely a big fan of those, a big fan of yours. So Chris is the winner on Mog's piece at 110. Ilya is at 120. I'll email you that information later on tonight, Izik.
Mm-hmm.
And so once again, thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, JD.
Yes,
Thank you, JD.
Good night, guys.
Do you remember what it was like when you were a little kid and you got a letter in the mail? Now imagine that letter was filled with information about your favorite shows, pop culture questions, links to things you're going to want to see later, and even sneak peeks at upcoming programming here on The Experience. That's what the EXP mailing list is. Every week, we send you sneak peeks, information, and all of the relevant links for all of the shows you want to see. Sign up now on our website or scan the QR code that's on your screen right now.